Russo brothers are some of the biggest household names now in Hollywood after directing the likes of Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, and of course 2 Captain America movies. And with their latest film Cherry coming out this weekend on Apple TV+, it's time to dive in and talk about the Russo brothers' entire filmography, from ranking it from worst to best. So guys, let's get to it. Coming down at my number 7 is You, Me, and Dupree. Now, this isn't necessarily a terrible film, but it's also not one of the ones that I find myself revisiting every so often. In fact, this is one that I very much don't ever really care to rewatch. There's this fun little romantic comedy in there. And really, for me, You, Me, and Dupree, again, isn't terribly written or anything. It has some nice laughs spread throughout the entire thing, and Owen Wilson is delightfully charming. But he's probably around the best thing about this, and this very much feels like one of those generic comedies that kind of just be pushed through the mold. And, you know, when we do look at the Russo brothers, they have directed 2 excellent TV shows before, whether it's Community and Arrested Development, 2 of my favorite comedies of all time, so you would expect a little bit more when it comes to making a comedy movie, but it really feels like, you know, this is more of a script thing than anything that goes with the directors. Coming down at my number 6 is Welcome to Collingwood. Now, this is an interesting movie because I didn't know they had directed this thing till I was starting to go through their filmography, and I'm like, they directed that? This is a pretty solid little movie, you know, and it's comedy, it has some crime elements to it, and it stars the likes of William H. Macy, Isaiah Washington, Sam Rockwell, and of course, even George Clooney. This is a fantastic cast, and for being their second film ever, and one that I haven't mentioned on this list called Pieces, it's because it's nowhere to be seen. It's their first independent film. I haven't been able to see that, so technically this is their first big film, I guess. But Welcome to Collingwood has an excellent cast in here, and I think the thing that I truly like about this one is the way that it does mix that crime and comedy throughout it. You know, I think this is a little underrated when it comes through all their films because no one really talks about it, but something I will say about this movie is again, same thing with You, Me, and Dupree, I don't care to rewatch this one. While I think it's a little bit underrated in those marks, it's not one that I'm like, oh, I need to own, or oh, you need to watch this. I would rather point them to the other Russo brother films on this, and I don't think this is a film that let them able to flex their skills inside an actual genre, but more just one that kind of plays with the same molds that we've seen before. But interesting enough, they actually also wrote this film, which I also did not know. It's crazy when you go back and revisit some people's filmographies and see where they end up at. At my number 5 is their latest film, Cherry, which I found to be disappointing in some aspects, but also amazing in others. I don't think this is a great film. I don't think this is one of the best films of the year, but I necessarily do think it is a solid direction for their directing if this is kind of the aspect that they want to go to. I think there are some great moments when it comes to a directing standpoint, but truly for me, the thing that saved Cherry overall in its bloated runtime was Henry Jackman's score, which is absolutely phenomenal and might be one of his best scores yet. Adding to that as well is Tom Holland's performance. This guy outacts every single person, and his skill is like up here and the writing was down here, which again, the writing is just very surface level, bare bones. I feel like there was multiple drafts that they should have gone through with the writing one more time, and I think that's one of the things that really falters this film heavily. It's not from the directing, because the directing has a new kind of style, and the Russo brothers are very much trying something different. It's not from the score, the technical aspect, because this is, again, a beautiful film to look at, and it's definitely not from the performances, because I think Tom Holland is amazing, phenomenal, heartbreaking, and really much just seeing this pain of torture from this PTSD that we get to see from his performance is also phenomenal. But everything else mixed in there wasn't for me. Before we get to my number 4, guys, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button because I love hearing from you guys. I love talking movies, and if you're already here, then this is the channel for you guys. Rankings, movie reviews, TV, games, all sorts of that geeky stuff. I'm here for it every single day, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section as well. So hit that like and subscribe button, comment down below, and let's get back to the video. At my number 4 is Captain America Civil War, which I think is action-packed. It has some of the best action scenes yet in the MCU, but also adding in there, I love the way that this easily could have been an Avengers 2.5, but it actually was more of an extension on Captain America Steve Rogers himself and his relationship with Bucky, and as well as with Tony Stark and the rest of the Avengers in this lineup. I adored this movie. I think this is something that I feel, while some of the tension isn't there because there are some jokes and quips being thrown around, and I do wish some of the action and battle sequences, especially the giant airport fight, was, you know, on rewatches in a different location. It kind of just seems a little bit safe in there. Other than that, the ideologies that they play around in here, and again, the stuff that happens in here and the way that it affects the future films, like say WandaVision now, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the way that it's looking to affect that. There's so many things that happen in Civil War that pay so highly inside the rest of the MCU. And again, that last action set piece between Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Iron Man is some of the most emotional fights that we've gotten yet, and personally my favorite moment in the entire film. Plus, guys, they introduced Black Panther and Spider-Man into a single film. Just magnifico. I love how they brought them in there, and they really much were the ones that fought to have them bring into the MCU. Black Panther and Spider-Man, it was the Russo brothers' ideas, and I was so excited that they were able to do that. And at my number 3 is Captain America, the Winter Soldier, the film that actually made me love Captain America. Because before this, I enjoyed him. I liked him. I think Chris Evans did a good job, and I really think the first Captain America movie might be one of the best origin stories yet for a comic book film. But when it comes down to the Russo brothers directing, I remember when this was announced, I was like, oh, the community directors are directing the Winter Soldier. And I went opening night with this, and my jaw hit the damn floor. I was like, that is one of the best MCU films yet. Oh my god. The action, again, is just redefining edge of your seat, spy thriller that just continuously goes and goes. The twists and turns are truly just actually twists and turns. And again, that Bucky reveal, even though I knew it, being in an audience full of people who were invested in the MCU but did not know that was Bucky, their jaws hitting the floor, hearing the gasps at that moment when the mask flies off, again, hit my heart. I love the action set pieces in here. I love the story. I love the villains portrayed throughout this entire thing and the way that it really shook up the MCU right after. Plus, again, it showed that Cap wasn't just a Boy Scout. There was a lot more to him inside this, and I appreciate the Russo brothers' direction really much in here. I think that is one of the main reasons why this film works. My number 2, guys, is Avengers Infinity War. It had to be. It was going to be Endgame or Infinity War, let's be honest. The reason I put Infinity War is, for me, I think Infinity War is one that I can put on at any time. I can binge, I can watch, and I can just totally enjoy because of all the action set pieces in here. The way that they separated each group, fantastic. I like how they separated and brought the groups different together and how they really much fleshed them out into a whole new light. It really brought a whole new world to me, and just seeing how the Russo brothers were able to really commit and make this film more about Thanos than the actual Avengers itself was quite incredible, because you actually care about the villain in here. One of the best written villains we've gotten yet, and the way that they directed Josh Brolin's performance, the way they brought everything together, strung it all together, and made it into a very action-packed, really set ride that has a great pace to it, that never really has that slow moment. It builds up, it starts opening up all the different portals that could possibly happen, but then again comes down to the very finale when you have 3 different set pieces happening. You have the stuff with Thor before he comes down to Wakanda. You have everything going around with Tony on Titan and how they're all fighting, which that's probably my favorite fight scene in the entire film, is Tony versus Thanos. Or even, of course, if you guys were there in the theaters when Rocket, Groot, and Thor showed up to Wakanda, it was like a damn concert. And I think the Russo brothers have solidified one of the best moments in Hollywood history when it comes to movies and cinema. Of course, coming to my number 1, I mentioned that last thing, making one of the best moments ever to be in a theater. Avengers End Game, tops that on every right. I never thought anything would top that Thor moment, but there's a lot in Endgame, especially the last hour itself. We talk about that last moment with Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America versus Thanos, or of course when it looks like everything's down, they've snapped, what is going on, the portals are opening behind them. I'm on your left. Falcon flies in, and goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps right now even talking about it. Just everything completely redefines and changes right then and there. My jaw hit the floor. I was in tears. I was sobbing. The score playing, and again, that direction, the way that they brought about those action sequences, the way that they brought in every single thing and made it feel seamless. There's some continuity things that stick out for me in Endgame, and maybe I don't love the middle act, but I've come to appreciate it more and more on the multiple rewatches I've watched this. But Endgame is solidified as one of the best on Marvel films, one of the best conclusions to an entire arc, and the way that they were able to handle some of the character deaths in here were perfection. I think the humor is knitted in here throughout perfectly, but what it really comes down to is that last act completely just in capturing everything that the MCU is at this point. And yes, I know a lot of people say it's the Marvel formula, Kevin Feige is a big part of it. The film would not have worked without the Russo brothers, and I think a lot of acclaim has to go to them for making what right now is the biggest film of all time. Guys, that's my ranking of the the Russo Brother films. Let me hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you agree with me? Do you not? How would your ranking be? Let's talk about it down there. Head on over to See Armstrong Films on how to see films early. And of course, it's a big thing to you and a big thing to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. So of course, until next time, stay classy.